But you know, he asked. I try and do most of the video requests that come across my desk. So this request is about my time in tech school. So um, I graduated from high school in May of 1997. I was 18 when I graduated from high school, and I had been having a lot of trouble trying to find a job. I spent, every summer since I was 16 trying to find work, and I feel like I just kind of lived on the wrong side of town for it. You know, I applied for everything out there I could really apply for that was within a reasonable distance to get to, and I wasn't finding anything at all. But I kind of wanted to be working while I was still in high school. But when I graduated from high school, my dad said I either needed to be a full-time student or have a full-time job if I wanted to stay at home. So, since I wasn't having any luck finding the job, I decided to do the full-time student thing. And we actually had a TSTC branch in Harlingen, so I actually went to Texas State Technical College Harlingen, which is, at least a fairly prestigious tech school for this state. Um, they used to be known as TSTI, Texas State Technical Institute, but they wanted college money, so they had to change their name. And this all kind of went down pretty quickly. My dad gave me this news in what I'd call fairly short order, so um, I had to kind of pick something. So I picked digital imaging, or also known as graphic arts. As I recall it, I believe I only had 2 weeks off. I think I graduated the 27th of May, so yeah, around the middle of June, kind of around my birthday, I believe I started tech school. Um, and uh, I really would have liked to have had a little more time off. It was pretty it was pretty intense. I don't know that I was really ready for it so soon, but that was the choice. Um, my father only paid for the first semester as well. He seemed to feel that I could get scholarships and stuff. I eventually did get a small scholarship from the church I was attending at the time for a few semesters. But I so I what really went down is I ended up having to get a job anyway. So that added a lot of initial stress to my school kind of career, and I'd never had to really work and go to school at the same time. I had no real practice doing that, despite really trying to do it. Um, while I was in high school and stuff. So, um, but discounting all the having to try and find money and get, I also got a student loan, which made things easier for a little while. It was a guaranteed student loan. Wasn't very much. Tech school wasn't as much then as it was now, but I was managing to kind of make things work. Uh, so kind of shortly after I started tech school, my soon-to-be common law partner came back from North Texas. Pretty shortly thereafter, I started working at her grandparents. She lived with her grandparents when she was moved back down. I started working at her grandparents' parrot farm. I worked there for about 6 years. So, worked there even after I really wasn't doing the tech school thing anymore. But I basically studied, vector-based graphic arts, Photoshop-based graphic arts. There were a couple of sound classes in there because it's video production. There were classes for Premiere, Adobe Premiere at the time, WordPress. So there were page layout classes. I had some issues. Most of the classes I had real issues with were like my basics, like college algebra. I've always been kind of weak with math, so that was sort of a difficult part of things for me. But at some point my student loan ran out. And then, like I said, after that I kind of got a scholarship from the church I was attending at the time. They started kind of getting upset that I couldn't pass college algebra reliably well. I had to take that class multiple times. They kind of got upset about that, and they quit covering that class. So I kept having to come up with money for that class, which was sort of frustrating. I believe I eventually did get it passed. But then something kind of went down within the church, and without kind of getting into anyone else's business, they saw fit to pull the entire scholarship from me and award it to someone else. It's a very small church. They only had room for one scholarship. And like I said, that was getting to be kind of an issue. They were covering less and less of my classes. So, my tech school attendance was really sporadic. It was pretty consistent for about a year, and then basically over the next couple years I attended when I could. And like I mentioned in the comments of one of my other videos, at some point a third-party company called RMH Teleservices moved into town, and they basically did third-party tech support for Microsoft dial-up internet. And for Graveyard, they were paying $9.50 an hour. So I figured, well, this will allow me to start. This will allow me to go to school again. Because I was living with my common law partner at the time. She was also going to TSTC for the food service program. We both had at least part-time jobs. We were kind of making things work. But I would literally go to work at Microsoft overnight, and I would do an entire overnight shift. Then I'd do an hour of overtime, then go to my first class at TSTC. It was right down the road. Go to my first class at TSTC, at like 7, 8 in the morning. I might be able to sleep on a bench there at the school for an hour or so. And then after classes I would go to work at the bird farm. So I had two jobs, essentially. The bird farm essentially paid $20 a day. It was kind of a salary job, and not a very well-paying one. Minimum wage back then was around $5 an hour, like $5.15 an hour or something like that. So Essentially, I was getting just under minimum wage for the time I was putting into it. The owners would have liked me to put a little more time into it. They generally gave that job to an immigrant, so, that's what the pay scale was for. And I remember and then my common law partner and I decided to take on a new vehicle payment, which I was very against, but she really needed to see something for all our work and everything, because we were both working pretty hard. And I kind of conceded. I wish I had stuck to my guns a little more, and we'd maybe at least gotten like a cheaper, smaller car. And at this point, I was kind of like halfway through my second year of tech school, and I was going to pick her up one day, and I was sitting at a stoplight. And if any of you know Harlingen, Texas, it was at the intersection of 77 and Tyler. 77 Sunshine and Tyler. So right there, Jack in the Box is on the corner, and there were some other places around, but there's a Jack in the Box kind of on the corner right there, and everything like that. And next thing I know, I am driving into the bumper of the car in front of me. I totally fell asleep at the wheel. I was just spread so thin, working overnight, then, getting very little rest, and then going to college, and then leaving college and going right to a second job, and then maybe getting a couple hours sleep and going right back to college, and then sometimes leaving college and going to Microsoft. It was just getting no damage, by the way. It was a rental anyway. The guy's car was a rental anyway, and nothing happened to our truck. But that was a real wake-up call, and I sat and talked to Carrie that night, and was like, I'm just spread so thin, and she was spread pretty thin too. Our lives as a couple were starting to dwindle a little bit. We hadn't had a whole lot of time for each other. We'd get together at school when we could and everything like that, but like I said, I mentioned this in a comment in one of my other videos, that I kind of just decided, $9.50 an hour in like 2000 or 2001 or something like that, when the minimum wage is low like it is, and everything, and we're here in the valley, that's a pretty good salary. To which she agreed. So I decided that I was going to finish up this semester, and that I wanted to take then a semester or two off, and really concentrate on just getting the money together, trying to save the money up to be able to afford to go and finish, because I just couldn't do all of that. It's like I can do all of this, or I can kind of like maybe do one of these things and go to school. Like I could see working the Microsoft job overnight, and then probably going to school, um, and then they find someone else for the bird farm job. But to make a what could turn into a longer story short, that just isn't really how it worked out. Um, I Now the other thing to consider is that when you're going to a tech school, for like a normal college, community college, university, you have 10 years to finish your degree up, your bachelor's up, right? So you could technically take some time off in there. But you generally only have 10 years to finish up your bachelor's until your classes expire. So at a tech school, um, it's half that time, it's 5 years. And I did not know that. And I did go back for a couple semesters here and there. You know, like I took a couple off, then I went back for one, and then I took a couple more off. You know, I was only going as we could afford to. Then RMH laid everybody off, and um, I we started a business, a PC sales and repair business, and that's when I decided, we had some time and should probably go to school again. But I think that I had to drop out that semester, during the dropout period because we just looked at the finances and just weren't really going to be able to pay for everything. Uh, we had moved into my father's spare house. We were kind of struggling to pay rent, but what we were really struggling with was electricity. I mean, we had like $400 electric bills in the early 2000s. So it was just a really expensive place to cool and heat. Now, what I will tell you is I did manage to get through most of my classes. I got down to just the 3D portion of my program. Um, you know, and I think I even got through 3D1. But I had, I think, another 5 classes to take, including, I think, one more 2D class on Director. I think I had one more Director class to take, and five more and 4 more 3D classes, and I would have been done with the program. But we we were just out of money. We just did not have any money for anything else. I had gotten a used car. In this time period, I got like a used Volkswagen Rabbit Cabriolet. Really cool little car, but I only had it 2 weeks and then had to give it back to the dealer because I was going to miss the first payment. A $400 electric bill came in. Uh, it was just really a mess. Thinking back on it now, I think probably really what I should have done is just gotten another student loan. I think that's really the answer. Um, just gotten like another $1,500 student loan, and I could have let one of those jobs go. Um, but they say hindsight's 2020. Um, my relationship was starting to have some trouble then. I decided to put some time into it. Um, she cared a lot more about us, working jobs and paying our bills than having degrees. That she kind of felt the same way I did about it, sort of near the end there. Like, she was running a deli, so she was making okay money for a while too. And our thoughts on it were like, these are like the jobs we would get coming out of college around here. Maybe I should have just picked a better program, you know, like HVAC or something like that. Welding even may have been a better idea, especially for that area. But again, hindsight's usually 2020, and that just is not what I did at the time. I felt like my priorities were pretty straight back then. They were to my significant other, but you know, that didn't end up lasting. If you watched the whole video, thank you very much. Please consider subscribing to my channel. I am trying to grow quite a bit, and hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, it wasn't going to be the most exciting thing. Goemon Ronin, signing out.